The following is sponsored programming and does not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Welcome. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show. And how do you spell Brien, Mr. Engineer?
With an E. B-R-I-E-N.
Well, I don't know. When I went to school, everyone that I knew was Brien, B-R-I-A-N or B-R-Y-A-N. I have no clue why anyone would spell that. But before we go any further, some of you have not ever listened to the Ask Brien radio show. And I want to give you some background information. For one, Ask Brien is part of the Ask Brien network, and what we try to do each week is we try to teach something about business to our audience, which is mostly small business owners, but any business owner is our target audience. And what we try to do is try to give information. So we may interview a CEO, we may have a startup company, or we may just have somebody that's trying to teach something. In today's show, we're going to have somebody that has done all three, so I'm sure you'll all be excited. But getting back to Mr. Engineer, where's the drum roll? Don't you have a drum roll?
I'd have to go. Let me go search.
He's a little slow today, so so those of you who haven't listened to it, you won't realize it. But
actually, I do got one right here. Watch.
Thank God. Wow. Okay. That's what we call a delayed reaction. Okay. Almost like the election. Nobody knows. Da, 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 da. All right. So that's the only political thing we'll say today. Mr. Engineer.
Yes, sir.
Why would you spell Brien with an E? And what does the E stand for?
Yes. Well, why we spell Brien with
Yes
an E?
Yes is with a Y, by the way.
I know. So we integrate the E with the show because there's a certain number of words that, kind of encapsulate and mean what the Ask Brien Show really is. Some of these are kind of like just what every week we've always said. So one of them is, effort, because each one of us puts in more than 110% of our effort into the show. And it shows. Hey, shows on the show. There you go.
Okay. All right, there's only one room for one shock jock in this audience. That's me. Go.
Let's see. We got effort. We have, he wasn't being very empathetic, so empathy works, which he was not being right now. He didn't put his feet in my shoes.
Actually, I was, because I called you a shock jock.
Oh, I guess he did then. What do you know? Let's see. Effort, empathy. We have, my personal favorite is the engineer, because you can't run the show without the engineer, i.e. me.
And that is, audience, why we're working on AI, artificial intelligence.
That doesn't start with an E, though. It starts with an I. Or A. Oh,
my God.
Oh, no.
AI starts with an I?
It starts with an A.
This is what happens to people when you don't go to school.
Another one, there's actually two more. There's excitement, because we bring nothing but excitement to the show. Actually, our
more than two, though.
Yeah, that's that. I know. There's excitement, and then there was you know what? You gotta remind me, boss. What was the other two? I'm having that day. Three more.
If you would have got them all, you would have been excellent.
Oh, I would not have been.
And if you were very, very well qualified, you'd be an expert.
Oh, you know what? He beat me to it.
But guess what? We are enthusiastic.
Yes, we are.
Because if you have enthusiasm and if you have passion, which is with a P, you can succeed.
Yes, you can.
And without any further ado, and it's not spelled with an E, sir. How do you spell ado?
A-D-I-E-U.
My favorite word, because it has so many vowels. We have our co-host, Traci. DeForge. Are you there, Traci?
I am. Hello. How are you today? Blah 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 blah. Can we have a do-over? Nope. Sorry, it's live.
Wow.
At least I'm not the only one. I'm with you, Trace. I'm with you.
You know, this is what happens. You take a week off, and right away, you can't even pronounce names. I got it. No problem.
I mean, I just don't even know what happened to me in that moment. I was so engaged in what you were saying about the Brien and the E and the enthusiasm and the passion that I just lost myself in the moment. But I am so happy to be here and so excited about our guest today.
And I'm so glad to have you as my co-host. It really means a lot. So, without any further ado, we have our guest, Allison. Allison, you there?
Hi there. So what are we going to do if we ever have a guest named Adrian? I'm so scared.
No, well, if we had Robin Williams, I'd be saying, "Good morning, Vietnam." Oh, sorry, wrong show. All right, so.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Without any further ado. So, Allison, want to go a little bit about your background. People don't know who you are, and we're trying to figure out. So, did you, I know you have a current business, but before your current business, can you give a little brief background about your prior work history or ownership interests?
Sure. So prior to owning my business, I actually worked in a neuroscience lab. So I was definitely a little bit of a nerd, but had no hope or thought of going into business. So I think it proves that you can be anything or, turn into anything. Doesn't matter what you went to school for.
That is quite a jump. So you were a neurosurgeon. You aren't a neurosurgeon, but you're in that field. How do you jump? Now your current field is you're in education, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And what is the name of your company?
Rozzy Learning Company.
Okay. So how did you make the jump from the neurosciences into education? I mean, that's not exactly like, okay, I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, and now I'm going to education. You just you went from left to right.
Yeah. So my best friend called me one day and said, "Hey, I have an idea to write a children's book." And so we wrote a book and we started showing it to teachers. And the book was all about getting girls really excited about science and engineering. And so we started talking to teachers and they said, "Hey, a book is great, but we really need resources for our classroom. We don't know how to talk about these careers in these fields to really young kids." And so we started creating lessons and curriculum to work in schools. And now our mission is to prepare students for 21st century careers and give them the skills and knowledge to do that.
Well, so a couple of things. First of all, how long ago was that?
That was 4 years ago.
And did you keep your day job and use this as a side hustle, or you just said, "Hey, I'm quitting," and go gung-ho right into that?
It definitely was a side hustle. I used to, when I was working in the lab, if I needed a break, I would start working on my other business. So I won't tell my old boss that. But it was definitely a side hustle until we got our first round of investment. We convinced somebody who was crazier than we were to invest $50,000 into us. And so after that, we were able to go full-time on this. And now we've been full-time since 2017.
And what is your partner's name?
Her name's Jessica.
Jessica. And is it 50-50? Decisions are 50-50, or is there a difference?
Yeah, so she actually was CEO to start and then decided that she didn't want to have all of that responsibility. So she shifted that role onto me. So I make kind of the day-to-day decisions. But then you bring investors and other people into the mix. So, there's lots of cooks in the kitchen now of, the future and how we run things.
And so for people that don't understand your business, I mean, I understand you're in the education field, but what exactly are you offering? Are you offering tutoring services? Are you teaching people sciences? And you actually That's part A. But part B is you initially mentioned that it was more for teaching sciences more to, to women, and then you switched gears, I think, and basically just teaching science. So is it science to everyone, or just one gender?
Yeah, so when we started with a female focus because we just saw that there was a huge gap in girls learning about science and technology and engineering, but we realized that was just cutting off 50% of the market. So what we sell now is a platform, so an online website that has thousands of lessons and resources that teachers can use in the classroom, and it is essentially a lesson plan for them. So it can take place or help supplement lessons that they do in all of the different subject areas. So now we have lessons from everything from science and math to English and social studies.
At what level? Are we talking about any level from K through 12? Or are we talking about different levels, or what? Where's your focus?
So we focus on kindergarten to 8th grade. So we often hear like, hey, are you teaching 5-year-olds about, working in a cubicle? But that's not what we do at all. We really show them how all of these different really cool careers overlap with what they're learning in school. And so it really gets them interested in, what they can be later in life.
And is this a subscription model or pay per usage, or how does it work?
Yeah, so it's a subscription model. So schools and teachers can purchase it to use for the year, and then we're about to launch a model for parents and tutors and other people who support learning to be able to buy it as well.
So how has COVID affected you? Because I know there's a lot more remote learning. You're an online business. Has that helped your business, or slowed your business, or kept it growing at the same rate?
Yeah, COVID was definitely a blessing and a curse for us. All of the big education companies were able to take advantage of it right away. They had the money in the bank and the ability to start offering free resources to schools, and they were able to pivot really quickly. Smaller companies like us, we were definitely hit hard because schools shut down. The busiest time of year when we bring in most of our revenue is during the spring and summer. And we essentially lost our businesses and our customers during COVID for several months. But now we're really seeing a rebound because we are an online business, and so schools can use us if they're doing remote learning or hybrid learning or having to be socially distanced into the classroom. So now we're kind of seeing these latent benefits of COVID, and everyone now is starting to prepare for more shutdowns, and I think our clients are really going to see that we can continue to be a valuable service to them in no matter what learning environment they're in.
Who's your biggest competitor?
We don't really have any direct competitors in terms of people introducing careers to kids this young. We really compete with other service providers who compete with us for dollars. So other, whether it's lesson plans or resources, especially in areas like science or STEM, we compete for dollars, I would say, but no one's really doing what we're doing. And I think our customers see that we're filling this huge gap where we can actually teach their kids why they're learning these nebulous topics in school and how that applies to the real world.
Are your courses static, or are they interactive?
Well, all of ours are interactive. So we have both virtually interactive and also project-based hands-on learning. So pre-COVID, that was one of our biggest values to our customers is we would give them projects that the kids could do. So one of the projects kids would do is actually design a hazmat safety mask. And so that's become one of the most favorite lessons during COVID is because the kids now all design their own face masks. And so we really think, kids learn best when they're interactive, when they're engaged, when they're manipulating things. And so we just work around that as much as possible with the COVID guidelines.
And how did you start this business? I mean, I hear that you got your $50,000, which is not a lot of money, but how did you, Did you have a business plan, and then you went out to find people? I mean, how did you get that $50,000? Because a lot of people in our audience, they have an idea, they would like to get going, and they're in a similar situation, and I think they would want to know how you got going and how you got to the level you were able to get to.
Yeah, so we really had no plan. We said, okay, we're going to do this thing, and we don't know what we're doing. Neither of us had a background in business or anything, but we knew that customers would really love this. So what we did is we just picked up the phone, and I know that's something Mark Cuban says all the time on Shark Tank, and I definitely lived that, where if you really have a boots on the ground approach and picking up the phone. So we would just call schools, and we started in where we live in St. Louis, Missouri, but we found that people in Missouri weren't as open to innovative education. And so then we started calling schools in other places and figuring out where we could get some market penetration. And then from there, we really just used referral models, having schools tell us who else to call. We got as many customer testimonials. We actually started selling before the product was even ready. And that's something I always, my advice I give to entrepreneurs is that so many people are in love with their product, and they spend all their time building their product and making it better instead of selling their product. And so for us, we started selling before it was even completed, but we knew we could get it done in time for, the first users who were going to start.
How do you sell a product that doesn't exist?
So we had enough of it. We had, enough lessons to show what there was going to be, and we had an outline. So for us, we were able to do it. Obviously, not everyone's able to do that. But I think if you have something that can basically be an MVP, a minimal viable product that your customers can use, then just start getting users out there. And we didn't sell it for free. A lot of people want to give their product away for free at first, but we found that free users don't really use your product as much because they don't have anything invested in it. So we started with selling it for $250 to schools, and now schools pay upward of $3,000, $4,000 a school. So we just, ratcheted up from there.
What do you get for the $250?
So back then you got probably 100, 200 lesson plans. Now we have thousands of lesson plans, but the schools get the lesson plans, all of the standards and the topics that they need to do in these different classes. And then they also get our support. And we find during COVID, our support is kind of half of the value that they're getting. We train them on how to use everything. We give them information on best practices, so best practices for remote learning, or how to do projects at home, or how to get parents involved. And we really try to, I like to say, kind of provide a boutique level of service on a scalable level.
So I have one last question, and we're going to take a break, and then Traci has all the questions left for the rest of the show. And the question is, how did you get your first customer?
I think so our first customer was actually a Jewish school and up in New York, and we called them and we said, hey, we have these lessons that we think might go well with your curriculum. We see on your website that you're wanting to do more engineering and science lessons. And then my friend, who's also Jewish, started talking to her about being Jewish and all of that. And I think making that personal connection was how we ended up getting our first client.
And that was, 3 years ago or 2 years ago?
That was 4 years ago.
Oh, 4 years ago. All right, well, we're going to be taking a break. We're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And Traci has so many questions. She's like, Peter, I have a question. I've been holding her back, but we're going to be going right back. And we'll be back in a couple minutes.
Join us this fall for online fun with the Canyon Theater Guild online youth workshops. Super fun classes with acting, singing, dancing, audition tips, script writing, scene study, improv, and putting on real shows created for online performance. Get creative, meet new friends, and most of all, have a blast from the comfort of your own home. Call 661-799-2702 or ctgworkshops@gmail.com or canyontheater.org.
At Jersey Mike's, we make a sub above. Bread baked fresh, veggies served crisp, Meat and cheese sliced on the spot. Then comes the juice. Red wine vinegar and olive oil blended to perfection. It's what makes a Jersey Mike's sub a sub to behold. And beholding? Well, we think that works best with two hands. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Your Santa Clarita Jersey Mike's, a proud sponsor of Santa Clarita Sports.
If you have a business problem, if someone doesn't honor their agreement and you need an aggressive attorney with over 27 years experience, the law office of Peter Bronstein has helped partners resolve disputes, franchisees resolve disputes, and other business owners who have a challenge. Let the law office of Peter Bronstein take your stress away. Visit lacorporateattorney.com. Don't wait too long and lose your rights. Solve your business challenge problem today. Visit lacorporateattorney.com.
When you hire a CPA firm or tax preparer, you want a firm with people who understand you, your business and industry, and participates in your local community. You need a firm that has long-standing, successful professional relationships around Southern California with attorneys, bankers, and other CPA firms who can provide additional help to your personal and business needs. Denny & Company, LLP. CPAs that make life less taxing. Call 286-8860, 286-8860.
No words can describe the power of belonging to a group of close friends or being part of a family. Insight Treatment Center was founded more than 20 years ago to give teenagers a community of friends and family as they overcome issues like depression, anxiety, and trauma. The new Santa Clarita location is a COVID-secure environment where distance and good airflow are a priority. As a leader in providing intensive outpatient treatment to teenagers, Insight Treatment Center in Santa Clarita is here to help. Call 888-295-9995 or go online to insighttreatment.com.
Hometown, your hometown station.
Welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. What happened to your button? I didn't hear the "and" sign.
And 98.1 FM.
Because I'm a New Yorker. All right. We're back with my co-host, Traci. Are you there? I haven't heard you in a while. Are you alive?
No. Well, I'm here, but I guess I got so flustered at the beginning I was actually trying to be demure for a change.
Well, that's Southern hospitality. You're always going to be demure.
I would say take that and appreciate it for the moment because it doesn't happen very often. So
that's a nice way of saying it.
Allison, I'm so happy you're here, and I just am really glad to have some estrogen on the show for, it just always helps me feel a little more a part of.
Oh, I know. I feel your pain There's, so few women in startups and, running businesses. So it's always good to have some lady power.
Well, thank you. And, that's exactly the direction I wanted to take with our first question is that I really valued what you said about the fact that you went into this without any business expertise, but you had this idea, you were very passionate about it. Did you ever at a point feel like the whole idea of an imposter syndrome, like who am I to do this? Why am I the one doing this? And if you did, what were some of the things that you did to overcome that?
Yeah, I don't think I had imposter syndrome. I think I had more of, I couldn't imagine myself like all puffed up running a business with employees, and it's hard to imagine. And you see so many men out there who just have these great big visions and they just seem like they're on top of the world. And I think women are just not raised to think that way and don't have the language and often the confidence in themselves to do that. And so honestly, what I started to do is I started to kind of imagine myself like, well, if I was a guy, what would I say? Or how would I talk? Or how would I hold myself? And that really kind of going through those exercises of forcing myself to think in a different way have really helped me. And even in the last 4 years, so much has changed. You see so many more female entrepreneurs. It's so much more common than it used to be. And so I feel like that feeling of imposter, that there's no one to look to, is not as strong. But 4 years ago, there definitely weren't as many.
Well, and the thing too about that is that you did look. It sounded like you did look to some resources. You cited Mark Cuban as an example, where he is essentially saying, you know, put your fears aside and go for it. And so, how do you, when you picked up the phone to call that potential investor, what was going through your mind, and what was your ask?
Yeah. So, you know, when we first talked to an investor, they immediately got it. They said, I think, you know, education is the future, that the ed tech space is really growing. And I think we were just able to kind of show them why focusing on careers at a young age was so important. And the thing that investors have always told me is they can just really tell how much I love what I do and that I'm very committed to it. And I think being able to show that excitement, because after so long, if you've been working on something, it can seem tedious or you just don't seem as interested. And so I think when you can really show that this is something that you are extraordinarily passionate about, and you are also passionate about bringing it to so many people, because investors have to know what you're doing is scalable. So even if you have a cool product, if no one's going to use it, or only a few amount of people are going to use it, then that's not, you know, worth it to them. And so when you can really show that this would affect millions and millions of people, I think that's when an investor can have an aha moment in you.
Yes, they can have that aha moment in you, but then they also have to really feel confident in your projections and your ability to execute on that. And so I applaud you for not only being able to have that vision, but also being able to have that vision and take it to a place that's executed and doing really well. Let me ask you about the branding. So Rozzy Career Adventures, how did that name come about, and what's the story behind the brand?
So when we were thinking about what to name the company, there are so many STEM companies out there, career things out there, and the best advice our lawyer ever gave us was to kind of pick a name that didn't mean anything. And so after many word searching, we came across Rozzy, and then we really landed on Career Adventures, which is the name of the product, because we really wanted kids to feel like this was an exploratory process. This is not something that's prescriptive. It's not something that they just like have to do in school again. And what's really cool now is that teachers and parents will come to us and say, my kid will ask to go on an adventure, and they ask to do this by name. And they really, you know, that kind of adventure word and feeling really resonates with the kids. And that's how we try to do all of our branding, is to keep it very discovery, exploration based, because it's really what it's about. It's not about just sit down at your desk and learn this. It's really about them and what they're interested in.
I think that's such an interesting point about, you know, it's like I remember when Sarah Blakely was talking about when she named Spanx, and having it end with an X was something that she did purposefully because it was unusual and it was something that people didn't see in other places. So I love that you just chose Rozzy as a way to stand out, but not, and also because no one else was using it. That's very innovative. So taking that brand and then parlaying it into a marketing strategy, how do you market and how do you practice new customer acquisition?
Yeah, so, you know, marketing for us is always tricky because right now we're primarily in the school market, and the buyer and the user and the person who has the best end result are all three different people. So our buyer is typically admin, principals at schools. The teacher is the one who uses it, and then the kids are the ones who are, you know, the most affected by it. And so for us, we always have to think about these three different stakeholders when we do marketing. And so we think about, what does the parent care about? What does the teacher care about? What do the kids care about? And so making sure that all of that comes together. And for us, we primarily do email marketing. So making sure that our emails get across, everything that we want, that all three of those stakeholders are involved so that the school can really see the vision that we're creating. And that's a vision of their kids having the best career and school preparation that they can, but it's something that the teachers are going to love to use and that the kids are going to be engaged in. And so those are kind of like our main philosophy and value proposition when we go to the schools. And then it's just something that you have to really carry throughout and make sure that your messaging is consistent and that when it does change, it changes for a reason. So, with COVID, we kind of shifted from, this is a product that's going to be great for your students and it'll make your school look really good because you're focusing on career learning, to, hey, we have a product that can make life easier for you now during this extremely stressful time. And so, you just really have to kind of look at the forces going on in the world and make sure your marketing is matching those.
And with the COVID situation, did your customer, so, you outlined that the admin or the principal is the buyer and then the student is the end user. Does the parent then get involved in becoming the buyer because of the amount of people that, as a result of COVID, are being schooled from home or even moving now from a public school to a charter or a homeschooling model?
Yeah, so right now our focus is upgrading our tech so that we can have a better parent and homeschool experience. So we do have some homeschool parents who have used us and always used us, but now we really see that we really have to position our product so that it could be used by just students without their parents or with parents or tutors. And so that's something that we've been spending the last 3 or 4 months working on, is kind of upgrading and updating the product so that it can fit these new markets. But what's exciting about that is it opens new revenue channels for us. And so that's where I say, COVID is a blessing and a curse because it forced us to pivot or do things that weren't, on our kind of product or company roadmap, but it's actually creating a lot more opportunities for us.
Well, and with not that one necessarily is a result of the other, but the other thing that's really been explosive in 2020 outside of COVID has been a lot of focus on cultural diversity and and really paying attention to our culture in our country and diversity in our country. Has that carried over into any of your curriculum? I'm curious about that, and any kind of gender-specific curriculums, or have you maintained the original curriculum?
Yeah, great question. So prior to Black Lives Matter and, the various kind of civil rights issues as a country that we've been discussing, we already had a diverse product. So when we first started, we said we are going to show people of all ethnicities, genders, abilities, and in our lessons. And we do that across every lesson that we have, especially because we work in primarily rural and urban schools that are extremely diverse. And so we wanted every child who works with us to see themselves in these careers and, doing these different kind of challenges and tasks that come with it. And then when Black Lives Matter happened and COVID happened, we created lessons around that to address that. We didn't want to be afraid to, address the hard things going on in the world, because one of our values is doing real world learning. And so we made sure to talk about those things in our curriculum. And we made it clear you can use these lessons or not use these lessons. And so some people loved them, some people weren't happy about them. But we were really able to show that, Rozzy is with the times. Rozzy is a current event company because so many education companies have so much outdated information and ways of thinking. And we really wanted our customers and the kids to see that we are reflecting to them what is happening around them.
I think that's so important, and it seems like it's so well done and well executed, like coming back to your original point about your branding and how you created your brand around something that is engaging and feels fun, not boring, has the curriculum of current events. And I just think that whole combination is such a great recipe of success for your company. Tell me about the Career Kid Challenge.
Yeah. So every spring and fall, we host a virtual competition. So this was, again, something we did pre-COVID, but, you know, most of us probably did a science fair or something like that when we were younger, and we wanted to have something that kids could do anywhere. And so we host twice a year a virtual competition, and it's always really fun. Last year, the kids would have to build a famous landmark. And so they were given requirements, like it had to be 12 inches tall, it had to use simple supplies, things like that. And so this competition is on roadside attractions. And so that was a little nod to COVID that so many people are just traveling in their car everywhere. So the kids get to look up famous roadside attractions in their state and then design a new one.
Oh my gosh, well, we did that when we didn't have the internet or we didn't have the TVs in the back of the car because we'd have to go along and count cows and Christmas lights. So, you know, I think that's what's old is new again. I think that's really kind of fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
And keeps the kids occupied so they're not killing each other in the back seat of said station wagon, or I guess SUV is the station wagon of the 2000s.
You left out the minivan. What about the minivan? Traci,
what'd you say?
You left out the minivan. I thought
Well,
they went from
I
station wagon to minivan to SUV.
That's just not, the minivans are very efficient, but just not as super hip as the SUV, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a mom. What do I know? My husband loves minivans, and I think they're whatever they serve their purpose for.
Yeah, I just did a 20-hour road trip to Maine, so we saw many roadside attractions during those travels.
So, how are you going to expand and grow? And this might be a question that we need a little bit more time for when we come back from a break, but we'll get started with what's next for Rozzy Learning Company.
Yeah, so what's next is really providing a more personalized experience for kids. And so that's really using technology to learn about their interests, have them tell us what their interests are, what they want to learn about, and then giving them the lessons that align with that and helping them kind of path their way to what could be activities or colleges or eventually the careers that they want to get into. So that's really what we're looking to do next with our technology.
Is there a way that you bring mentors into your program, I'm curious, so that they can, so I like what you were saying about the diversity in terms of people seeing kids that are like them. What about the opportunity to bring mentors where they can see, futuristically speaking, I could be like them in my future?
Yeah, so we actually have some partner organizations who do that, who have interviews or who set kids up or schools up with talking with real people. And so we just found that there were kind of some people in that space and that they would be better partners for us than us doing that ourselves. But I think, again, you know, the more kids can really interact with what real life looks like and people who are doing this, the better, because it's not just then in a textbook to them.
That's fantastic. Are you currently looking for partners for that mentorship type program? Are you looking at expanding that, or do you have a place people can find out more about becoming a partner?
Yeah, we're always looking to partner with people who are interested in educating the kids or kind of showing them, their different careers. And so you can always go on our website and reach out to us if you wanna kind of show the kids your 21st century career you're doing.
We're going to have to take a break. We'll be right back. You're listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM.
Hi, I'm Miles McNamara, Certified Senior Advisor and owner of Comfort Keepers in Home Care. Our caregivers help you in your own home. A Comfort Keeper can provide companionship, meal preparation, medication monitoring, assistance with personal care, transportation to doctor appointments, all enhancing your independence and safety in the comfort and privacy of your own home. So if you or someone you love could use a helping hand at home, call Comfort Keepers at 287-4200. That's 287-4200.
Nobody likes pesky ants when they come into your home. Clean up uneaten pet food and dirty dishes and caulk entry points into your home. If you must spray pesticide, spray responsibly. Prevent pesticides from running into the Santa Clara River by turning off your sprinklers for a few days after you use chemicals. And don't apply before rainfall. Follow the instructions on the package or try using non-toxic alternatives. Visit greensantaclarita.com for more information. This message is brought to you by the City of Santa Clarita.
These days, it's hard to figure out how to fill all the self-isolation time, let alone figure out what to have for lunch or dinner. Salt Creek Grill owner Greg Amsler is helping us out in a big, big way. Salt Creek is now offering takeout and curbside pickup, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Their entire menu is available for pickup or delivery, including to-go beer and wine. Hey. In addition, Greg's offering wine at 25% off, along with daily specials. If you'd like to buy a gift card for a future visit, now's the time. Buy a $50 gift card and get $10 extra on the card completely free. Buy a $100 gift card, you get an extra $25. Salt Creek Grill, located next to Regal Cinema at the Valencia Mall. For more info, go to saltcreekgrill.com.
We all know sometimes people lose their way. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, the Way Out Recovery SCV may have the answers you've been waiting for. The Way Out is the premier intensive outpatient treatment center serving Santa Clarita. Asking for help is the first step. Call The Way Out today, 661-296-4444. That's 296-4444 for a private free assessment. The Way Out is an accredited, affordable outpatient program that accepts most insurance. Call us at 661-296-4444 or check us out online at thewayoutrrecoveryscv.com. Quit battling with yourself. Ask The Way Out for help today.
It's like no other station I've ever listened to. It's great.
Your hometown station.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world. Oh, sorry. Okay. Who did that?
Oh, I missed you so much from last week. I really did. I just missed you so much.
Well, that was the engineer that did that. I didn't do that. He's got this like button or something that he pushes. It's like the "and" button. I don't know where he comes up with these things.
Anyway, I should have said in my nice Southern way, I missed y'all so much last week.
And we missed you. So, Allison, a couple questions. If somebody, can people sign up directly, or they have to go through a school to become participate in your program?
Yeah, so we do have an option right now for teachers or parents to sign up on the website, so they can go to RozzyLearningCompany.com, and Rozzy's ROZZY. But then if it's something also that, parents want to bring to the schools, we have so many times where PTAs or parents will reach out to us and say, like, hey, how can I bring this to my school? So we have both options.
And do you have any, like, tutoring options? So, like, let's say, because I don't know how to add 8 plus 8. I think that's like 25. So,
We don't have tutoring options, but I could help you out there if you need some help.
Well, it's good that I have 10 fingers, because at least I can get up to 10. But after that, I'm in trouble. That's what happens when you get a 720 out of 800 on your SATs. You just don't know how to add. So, how do you know if your school is participating with Rozzy? How would I know that?
Sure. So hopefully the teachers will let you know, and sometimes it's on the website. But I think, a lot of times parents don't know. But I think COVID has changed that. So I think it's, parents are having so much more transparency and insight into the schools and really seeing what their kids are working on. But if there's any parents who are listening who think this would be great for your students, you can always go on our website. There's ways to contact us all over that, and we're happy to see if it's something that would be good for just your student or all the students out there. But it's a really exciting time because this is why we want to work more with parents and have them be more a part of this process, because all the barriers have been broken down between work and home and now school and home.
Who's your target?
Well, I would be remiss. Which
Go
one
ahead.
goes? You or me?
You go, Traci. You're in charge of this operation.
Okay. Only in my own mind, but thanks for saying that. I just honestly, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this, and that is, what are those feelings around arts and music into this curriculum? Because I know budgets in schools have in a lot of cases eliminated the arts and music aspects of curriculum, and I'd really love to know if you have plans on making that a part of your program or increasing that accessibility on your program for kids to participate in art and music curriculums.
Yeah, so we actually already integrate that. So, we've always been of the belief that kids need all of that to be successful, especially now. So many careers are design-based and design thinking-based, and that really starts with, activating the right sides of your brain through music and art and poetry and literature, and so we integrate that into our curriculum actually. So they're kind of getting it on the down low. But I think that's why kids love it so much, because we really put a lot of the learning into their hands, where we say, okay, today you're going to be an engineer, but you get to go and design something, and they get to draw it and sketch it and really think about it. And so that's something that we've always believed is critical to these learning phases of life.
Yay, I applaud you for that, and please keep that up, and please keep that as strong, because it's all about problem-solving skills, and you need to get into your right brain in order to be able to solve problems, and that carries over into every area of your life as you become an adult. So, yay you.
What's your next step?
Yeah, so like I said, our next step, is really connecting with the parents here. I think, parents are now seeing some of the deficiencies in the school system, and that's really not at the fault of the teachers. It's really at the bureaucratic elements that are built into school systems. And so while we've been a resource here for teachers for the last 4 years, now we really want to bring parents into the fold, because they're really starting to take charge of their kids' educations, and we want to be the resource they go to, so that they feel like their kids are being prepared for later in life, and not just prepared, but that they'll be happy. I think so many of us have ended up in jobs where we were just so unhappy and dissatisfied, or we felt like our skills didn't match with it. And so, we really want to prevent that, so that everybody can go into careers that match with what they want to do and what they're good at.
Thank you very much. You're listening to KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. We'll be back next week.